Hello and welcome, friends, to We Heal with healers Eliana Miranda and Holly Wheeler. We have expansive conversations about healing our hearts, bodies, lineages, communities, and our beloved home planet. We are so happy to invite you into this space. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome back to We Heal. Thank you all so much for all the love and the support from our last episode on divine feminine healing. We are so grateful to all of our listeners. Thank you so much. So for today's episode, we are going to be talking about sacred self-adornment. So after our last episode on divine feminine healing, we felt inspired to share and kind of expand on our conversation and share a little bit about the practice of sacred self-adornment within this kind of capitalistic world that is setting a lot of really high and kind of unattainable beauty standards, and also kind of, not falling into those traps that capitalism has kind of been setting for women and trying to draw us in and trying to make us feel bad about ourselves or whatever so that they can capitalize off of us, but so that we can release these programs and so that we can adorn our sacred vessels in a way that magnifies our energy, that amplifies our intentions, and that can protect us, and that we can weave our magic into, we can weave our messages into, and that really just help us to uplift our vibration and kind of, using that as like a magical tool, really. So to start off, we want to share a little bit about our own practice of adornment and how that has helped us heal from negative body image programming and capitalistic standards of beauty.
Yeah, thanks for starting us off, Holly. And something that, you said before we even jumped on here about how capitalism has been kind of penetrating into the feminine aura and causing a disruption in the kind of psychic fields around us, seems kind of important to weave in and draw attention to, because when you start to work with your body as an altar for the God source energy, and you really honor and respect the vessel that you were given when you came into this world as a place of holiness and a place of spirituality, it kind of like disrupts even like the spiritual bypassing systems that capitalism has hooked itself into, and really allows and encourages and invites in an embodiment practice with your spirituality, where we're not kind of escaping or running away from who we be in the present moment, but instead we're recognizing that like God source energy is alive and informing our being. And when we can leave our offerings at the altar of the body, we are in turn leaving our offerings at the altar of the source that created us, the creation energy. So coming into my own conversation around adornment, it hasn't always been easy. I went through many stages of dressing in ways to appease others, dressing up in order to make other people feel more acceptable, or accepting, I guess I should say, of where I was at. When I was younger, I would dress so that I didn't look feminine, and I was locking that feminine part away because it felt like the programming was either you are feminine and sexualized, or you have to hide that part of yourself or disrupt that part of yourself in order to fit into society, or sometimes even masculinize yourself in order to be able to play the roles in the world that they, kind of inform us and program us with are the only roles that we are able to make money in, or able to have power in, or able to have influence in. So it's been really in like my magic practice that I've realized just how much power can be in the adornments. And so oftentimes I would dress up only to go into public spaces for the sake of the other. And now I dress up to go into public spaces for the sake of myself and for the protection and the royalty of my body and of my field, and all of the energy work that I do to kind of curate my aura, to seal it in and to not let it be used or abused or penetrated on by capitalism or by patriarchy or by any shape or form of energy that wants to kind of consume the altar or take from the altar or disrupt the sacred spaces that we're creating as humans just living our lives. So yeah, I'm going to throw it back to you, Holly, and see if anything came through from that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know you were saying that we've kind of gone through these different phases of our lives and different phases of how we adorn ourselves and how we dress and the intention behind that. And I think, I feel like everybody has gone through a time in their life where they were kind of dressing in a way that was like maybe really rebellious or really like, I don't know, just like not who they were, or like, just like maybe experimenting and trying to find who we are, like especially as like teenagers and youths, that we kind of go through this like experimental phase and whatnot. And how that I love that you said that just like dressing to like instead of dressing up for other people and for other eyes, dressing for your own self and adorning yourself to honor yourself and to honor your body as the temple that it is and as the goddess that you are. I think that Marie Kondo says something about wearing sweatpants like all the time at home. I can't remember what she says about it. It's probably really sweet. I'm probably gonna like butcher what she was kind of saying about it. But it's kind of like, if you're going to like wear sweatpants all the time, then you're going to be that person that's always wearing sweats. Or that's like, if you're wearing these like dirty, ratty, like hole covered clothes, like that affects your energy, and you're going to be that person who like wears like the baggy, ratty clothes. And it's like, it's funny because, saying it, it's like, of course, like, yeah, that makes sense. But like, it's really true. And so if you dress and adorn yourself with sacred intent and with just kind of in alignment with who you are, and it can be a really, really powerful practice, and it can kind of constantly remind you of your worth and of your uniqueness, especially when you're dressing in a way that's amplifying your own natural beauty. Like, I think that that's one thing that I have really healed a lot from in my life, instead of trying to change my appearance, because there's so many ways you can change your appearance nowadays. Like, there's so many modifications you can make to your body. I watched this documentary a long time ago called Modified, and it was wild. Like, people get all these kinds of like implants. Like, you can do like surgical implants to make your face a different shape, to give yourself horns. You can slit your tongue and give yourself a lizard tongue, like you can literally do anything you want to your body, but you have to pay for it. So it's like, who's selling us these, images of like perfection? And I know that sometimes like these modifications are a true art form, but it just depends on like, where is that intention coming from? Is it coming from trying to fit in somebody else's standards of beauty? Is it coming from a place of, or is it coming from a place of self-expression? I think that's really what we're talking about. Cause like, there's so many ways that you can modify and change your body and adorn yourself, but it's just about like, does it align with who you are? Or is it something that has been kind of like penetrating into your field from somebody else or from another source? So I think that just getting really clear on our intentions has really helped us to identify what is sacred self-adornment and what is kind of the more toxic, like, what's the word for it? Just like a need to kind of like compete, or a need to keep up with like the trends or the fast fashions or whatever it is. This kind of like, yeah, just this kind of vibe of like fast fashion and always keeping up with the beauty standards and something imposed on you by somebody else.
Yeah, you have me thinking of I watch some really stupid television shows, but I've been really paying attention to the commercials that they weave into these stupid television shows. And, you know, when I'm watching shows that are directed at young women, it's been interesting to see how the commercials are all about like making yourself smell nicer in your private parts, like new shaving things that you can do to get rid of your hair, different ways to like clean yourself up, lose weight. Like it's all these things that's just like perpetuating this idea that like the woman's body is dirty, that our natural smells are gross, that our natural, you know, body hair and that our natural ways of, you know, expressing the body's ways of expressing are things that need to be changed. And you can't change these unless you buy this product from us. And then at the same time, like they use the woman's body in order to sell things too, to like really encourage people to be like, you can look like this, even though you'll never be able to look like this, right? Anyone with dark hair, dark skin is never going to look like the blonde haired, you know, lighter beauty standard that I would say not as much these days, but was definitely like ingrained and penetrated into our psyches when Holly and I were younger. But it's like you really can kind of see it when you like take a step back and watch the ways in which they try to inform us, program us, or influence us to look at our bodies as gross and things that need to be fixed and can only be fixed by buying their product, by receiving their programming, by changing ourselves to fit into somebody else's standards. And so I think like what Holly and I are really just talking about here is ways to call that energy back to yourself and realize that like the female body is so powerful, and that's why it's being used and manipulated in these ways to get us to buy things, get us to dysregulate from ourselves so that we think we need something else besides what we already have, and instead using our energy to invoke the pleasure of the body temple that is already present without anything else, with like really needing nothing else. And we're gonna, you know, talk about some of these ways. Holly's gonna bring in some of the ways in which you can recreate your closet and recreate what you already have, you know, around you to be able to shapeshift with, to be able to like, you know, strip your altar and like then adorn it with something new, and not feel like you have to keep reaching outside of yourself in order to express the innate natural beauty that lies within.
Right. Yeah. I really did. I want to talk about just kind of like little, one of my favorite things about self adornment and my own practice with self adornment and intentional self adornment has been just to practice minimalism, and to kind of, and not like super like extreme minimalism, because I go to festivals, I like to go to parties, I like to dance, and I like having costumes. So I wouldn't say like I'm not the kind of person that has like 5 shirts and 2 pairs of pants and a jacket. Like but it's kind of more of like a capsule wardrobe. But really, like I loved creating, like after I had my daughter and my size changed, I just needed to buy new clothes. So I had this kind of opportunity to create a capsule wardrobe. So having, looking at your adornments, like clothes in particular, as like a capsule thing, as like your wardrobe, is such a different thing than we've kind of been taught in capitalistic culture, which is to just like every season just buy new things. You have a new thing coming up, just buy something new for it. You have this, oh, just go to Forever 21 or whatever and buy this or buy. It's just like, you know, I was never taught how to make a wardrobe, how to create, like how to buy all the things that you need for like a year and the shifting seasons, you know. And so that has been really empowering for me to just like set up my like seasonal wardrobe and be able to cap it and be able to have costumes and things that I can wear for festivals and be able to have fun things that I can wear in different ways too. Like having an item that I can wear like 5 different ways really pleases me to no end. And so I feel like this practice of mine has really been a rebellion against fast fashion and against capitalism, because I don't want to be just drawn in by things anymore. If I see something on my feed, on my Instagram feed or whatever social media feed, I'm just like, oh, I love that pantsuit thing or whatever. Then it's like, no, I have all my clothes already. Like, I'm good. And so that has been really empowering. And also just, instead of buying things like all the time, just kind of taking, like, buying a piece when you're buying a piece, like buying something that's maybe of a little bit higher quality, maybe kind of, it can be in alignment with your ethics. It can kind of be a certain vibe or a certain color, or certain texture that you really want to amplify your, like your soul's mission on the planet. You can really like dress yourself in clothes that kind of help to magnify and project who you really are. And I mean, they're just clothes. They're not gonna like, they're not like all of that, but at the same time, it kind of is like, it's just this balance. So yeah, what do you have to say on that, Ellie?
Yeah, I have a couple things that came through. Let's see if I can remember all of them.
Yeah.
But that last part there, like about being able to kind of magnify your intention and your mission and then magnetize people towards you. I think especially for projectors, shouting out projectors, that our wardrobe is a really powerful way for people to see us and therefore invite us in. It's also a really powerful cloaking mechanism if you need to shield your aura and make yourself only available to beings that you want to invite you into their conversation. And so I love that you kind of brought that up, is like, you're adorning yourself, you're robing yourself like in your mission, in your field, like you're making what is energetic to be kind of known and represented and seen by maybe those that don't see the energy, right? Or that don't kind of play in those kind of unseen realms. You're revealing yourself, or you're cloaking yourself in a way that allows for that kind of fluidity and to shape shift between forms. And so that's for any type, but I just felt like, those words really spoke to me as a projector, of like, that you can use this to amplify the mission and also to protect the mission. If you're feeling like you're going into a space that needs a little bit more cloaking to it. The other thing that you were saying that I think is, something that we're really lucky in where we live, is that there's a huge kind of market for thrifting. And also just like the way that people live in the city that we live in is like, you see people just walking down the street wearing the same clothes that they wore in the 80s. Like, there's not a huge consumeristic culture in Portland. We don't really have a whole lot of like, we don't have a Walmart like in the city. We don't have these kind of big commodificating entities in the general or in the smaller city itself. So I think we live in a city too that kind of perpetuates this ability, because I used to be the person that like loved to go buy a new outfit for everything. My mom's screen name was Shopaholic Jan, and I was Shop Girly at AOL.com back in the day. We bonded over shopping. We loved shopping, and there's something so beautiful about that, I think, with the mother and the daughter. And for anyone, like, there can be something deeply therapeutic about shopping. But when it becomes a like an energetic cord, that like you're shopping and you're buying a new thing is the way that you're filling up your energy, the way that you're filling up your cup, making yourself feel better. There's a level of that can be, healing in that way. And when you are doing it because you can't get energy anyway else, or you're doing it because that's what you built your identity around, for the wrong reasons, right? Like there can definitely be people that like have whole businesses in shopping and buying things and then spreading those goods out to everybody. And so that's putting those people aside, but it's all about the intention behind it. And so like a lot of the things that people do up here are clothing swaps, and they just have these like events where you can go and everyone just kind of puts whatever they're done with on the floor, and you can pick up and take with you whatever you want. And the rest that nobody takes, like, gets donated somewhere. And so there's things, of course, changing in this city, and I would say thrift stores are getting almost as expensive as real stores. But I do think that moving to this city has been kind of eye-opening for me, and I do not shop in the way that I used to. I don't go to the places to shop that I used to. I really try to buy locally made goods if I'm going to buy something new. I love to buy from companies that sew crystals into their clothes, or like where who the maker is, the energy that they're putting into it. If you know weaving at all, if you know the actual art of making clothing or tying anything together, you're tying in knots of energy with every little stroke that you make. So if it's from children in another country that are not being paid right and that are not being supported for the work that they're doing, like, you're receiving that energy on your body. Whereas if you have a local maker or some artist that that's creating a piece of clothing, and you're investing in their art, and therefore then the piece that you're wearing is an investment also in the own like creative project and process within you, that's the type of energy you start to exchange with the world just by being in it and living it and adorning yourself in it. So yeah, that I got everything out that came through from what you said.
Nice. Yeah, totally. I think that, yeah, there's a lot there, there's like what you were saying about just kind of really learning how to separate the programming from the intention, and learning that, like, learning to separate your intentions from the programming, and just kind of like releasing and blocking out that programming that you need to be a certain way, that you need to do a certain thing, that you need to like go shopping to bond with somebody, or like this kind of stuff, like, is so important to talk about, and so important to download into our consciousness, I feel, because we can really like end up wasting a lot of time and energy on fast fashion, or just stuff that's like not really in alignment with who we are or what we stand for. And I'm all about like let your lifestyle be your rebellion against the capitalistic top-down pyramid style like way of living right now. That kind of like domination culture is what we're rebelling against when we take ownership of our own sacred adornment and really like honor ourselves as sacred and magical beings who are helping to co-create this world. And so with every purchase that we make, we're supporting an entity. And so if you're kind of supporting these entities of like, who have like child laborers who aren't getting paid very much, and it's just like, where is my money actually going? What am I supporting? What is the energy that I am amplifying when I'm wearing this thing, when I'm wearing it around, when there's photos of me taking it in it, and you're amplifying this product that isn't really like resonating with who you are and what you stand for. So, and I know that, yeah, all the compassion in the world for people, who that's all that they can afford, all the compassion in the world. I know that clothes can be expensive. And so sometimes all you can do is buy what's available. So we're not like judging anybody for having a lack of funds, but we're just bringing a conscious awareness into like going forward, and how to maybe buy things like secondhand, or buy things kind of more in alignment with who we are and what we stand for, and really kind of voting with these things. And, obviously, like the way that you dress, you can, choose to wear all vegan stuff. You can choose to wear leathers. You can choose to, there's so many different things that you can choose to wear. You can choose to wear a shirt that says, fuck the patriarchy or whatever. Like, there's so many different messages that you can send with your look just by passing somebody by, so it can be kind of like frivolous, but it can also be really powerful. It's just this like weird, like duality, so, yeah, let's see. What were we going to talk about next? So many things on our list here. Oh, I want to kind of jump in and talk about body hair maintenance just a little bit more. Because, we have been so programmed, especially like the millennial generation, I guess, but also, the generation before that too. Like, I don't know anybody in the baby boomer generation who like doesn't shave anymore. Like, it's kind of all the millennials are kind of like, oh, I'm done with that. Like, my skin doesn't like it. Like, it's uncomfortable. You have to do it pretty much every day if you're shaving, like if you're especially like your armpits or whatever. It's just like, and men shaving their face too. That is just ridiculous to have to shave your face every single day. I know so many men who get acne, they get razor burn, they get all this stuff, but they have to shave it so that they can, look good or clean or whatever, and I think that once I stopped shaving every day and stopped kind of like accepting that programming that smooth baby soft legs and armpits are the best, like, or that's the only way that you'll be pretty. Like, as soon as I let go of that programming, I started to really love myself so much more. And it's just like, it sounds silly and simple, but I was just talking to a group of women about this the other day, that women were just like, yeah, I'm embracing my body hair. And like, I don't even care. Like, I don't want to waste all this time and money and effort and, plastic, like with shaving, you just have to buy a new razor like every other week or so, every 3 uses or something, they say. Just like, that is so wasteful. And it's just like, learning how to kind of like do these things and release the programming that says you have to shave every day, and decide how you want to do it. If you want to shave, but don't shave because somebody else told you that you have to. Like, just, if you want to design your body hair in a certain way, then do it. Like, more power to you. But once I like release that standard for myself and release that standard that was imposed on myself, then I really started to love myself a lot more in just and have more appreciation for the human body and just how beautiful it is, and that hair is beautiful, and that we all have hair. you know yeah.
Yeah, and like hair holds so much energy too when
Yeah.
you really start to kind of unravel and let your body hair grow and actually kind of feel the
Yeah.
power and the impact. Like, they're like these little antennas, and especially as women, when we're taught to shave our antennas, like shave off the way that we can kind of connect in with our greater auric frequency, like we are taking ourselves kind of back in time to a place in our lives when we're little girls, right? That don't have power and that don't have a say in our body. And the entire idea of like shaving to look like a little girl, is there's something there that like we need to be investigating.
Yeah.
And really looking at and understanding why we want to look like children, and why there's so much programming around the natural body being gross and unclean and not right in just its organic state. It really, when you kind of start to look at it, and when you kind of let your hair grow, and then also like give yourself the permission to shave and feel what that feels like when you have grown all your hair out, and then you get to feel the other extreme when you get to kind of clean things up, and what that does to your aura and what that does to your energy. And there's beauty in both of that, right? Like I play with both ends of the spectrum. Sometimes I really like cleaning up shop and just seeing like letting that be like a reset, like before I ordered this hat, I was like given instructions to do a ritual shave and to like clean up some of the energy, because that energy had been very dominant in my field for a really long time and had gone with me through some big levels of emotional alchemy. And I was being invited into this next kind of portal. And so it was like a ritualistic moment of like cleaning up the altar, right? Like just how I would clean up and brush off my own altar at home and maybe trim a few things that were not in resonance anymore. It was kind of that same impact. And it was like right after I shaved that the hat got, delivered to me. And then that updated my entire crown and then my aura, and things have, moved from there. So play with it, and like see what it feels like and what you have to kind of work through if you do let things grow out, and like what that's telling you about yourself and the way you love and respect yourself and how you view your own body in its natural state.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think that hair removal in general of any kind, like the hair on your head or whatever, it can be very ritualistic and very like sacred and intentional too. And like if you can do it with like the waning cycles of the moon, and you can just kind of clear out and detox and like start anew, and it can be really powerful and really symbolic work to do. So it's just like, I just love this. Like, go through and just deprogram and then come into alignment with your intentions and just do what you want.
Yes.
What you want, not what they want you to do.
Yes, take your power back.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's move into some of the ways that we practice self-adornment for magical purposes. And Eliana, I'm just going to let you start us off, because you have taught me a lot about this, about adornments and about, wearing different crystals or different things on your body to kind of, well, really to protect your energy is what I've learned from you a lot, but then also to amplify different parts of your body, like the different chakra centers and stuff. So take it away, girl.
Thank you. I would love to. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I do all virtual work. All of my healing work is over the computer, and I sit at my altar and I'm physically giving energy work to people, but it's like from this kind of virtual energetic realm of, outside of space and time. So before I go into sessions, I literally will have certain crystals of rings request that I wear them, or certain earrings request that I wear them, or certain hats or certain colors request that I wear them. And it's always like, I used to kind of wonder if it was just my ego or if it was this or that, but then I started to see how whatever I was kind of showing up with was like the perfect extra support for whatever I was working with that day in sessions with people. And so especially for like body workers and energy workers and anyone that does work where you're putting your hands onto another body. So whether that's physically like Holly does or energetically like I do, having some extra crystals just like adorning your body is a good way to just have it embedded into your aura, have the purpose and the power, the protection of that crystal embedded into your aura. And so like that doesn't always mean that you're wearing a black tourmaline when you're going to be working with some dense, heavy energies to kind of clear it out. Like sometimes, I just got this Ganesha ring, and I've been feeling just like Ganesha wanting to come in and support moving some of the blockages from the work that I'm doing. I wear a mushroom into sessions if I'm feeling like I need a little bit more of like psychedelic support. I don't necessarily have to take the mushrooms into my body. I can adorn myself in the Amanita mascara and be able to tap into that frequency, not by thinking about it, right? So it's like, in human design and all of these kinds of like more consciousness systems that are arising, it's talked about how we're moving out of like the mental understanding or the mind trying to receive externally authorized instruction, and instead letting the body kind of dictate, the senses dictate, the inner world dictate what it means. So it's not going to always logically make sense to you why you want to wear that ring that day, why you want to put a scorpion on your finger, until later on you realize that you're going to be working with some big transformative maybe life death type situations where the scorpion is a master in that, and instead of the mind having to call in the scorpion, it's like, oh, I already got the scorpion like right on my Saturn finger. I know how and where I can direct this energy. So all of my jewelry that I wear is always very intentionally placed on my body. And I have a lot of jewelry, but I wear all of the jewelry. I really do pass on jewelry that doesn't seem to be arriving and requesting to be worn and to be worked with. But I really do believe that when we're adorning our bodies with these different frequencies, that they can help us and support us in our work. So crystal wise, like that's kind of what I'm doing, is I'm receiving the energetic support of that particular type of crystal when I put it on. If I'm called to wear, I have ear wings. They're literally called ear wings, and they're parakeet wings. If I'm feeling like I need some extra spiritual guidance or the ancestors, like I'm doing a lot of ancestor work, like they always ask me to wear some type of feather adornment so that those messages can flow in a little bit easier from the higher perspectives. I always kind of cloak myself up. I alluded to this before, but I'm very open. My senses, my human design, all of these parts of myself are very open. And when I do interact with someone, my energy physically moves into their space and draws their energy back into my body. So having a cloak up for those people. And like, you know, a lot of us just have this organically in our aura, but I like to amplify it. And so when I'm wearing a hat or when I'm wearing a hood or when I'm wearing a big cloak around my body, I am doing that very intentionally. And I, you know, I'll show up sometimes and Holly or even her husband is like, "Well, you're very cloaked up this evening." And it's because I've gotten the message beforehand that I need a little extra support, that my energy can't do all the work, or that my energy is feeling a little bit more sensitive or more fragile and needs some extra cloaking mechanisms to keep the energy in, keep other people out, provide a separation between what I am experiencing and what the rest of the room is experiencing. So, and then another thing I'll just drop into is that, like, protect your crown, you know, like if you are feeling blown out, if you are feeling disembodied, if you're feeling like you're not able to stay in your vessel or you're disconnected from your vessel, put a hat on, put a hood up. There's so many religions that they cover their head, and you know the religions will say, at least in mine, it's to remind them of God, or it's to protect the sacred feminine, you know, from the male eye in prayer situations. But truly, like, your crown is an extension, like your hair is an extension. And when you are feeling like you're being very uplifted or sent out of your body, like, just put a hat on and direct your energy to stay in your body. And the crown is a place of great infiltration. It's where a lot of our programming comes from. The collective consciousness is connected to the crown. So especially those that deal with, you know, hopping dimensions a lot of the time, or that are having a harder time kind of staying in like one frequency or one centered place of embodiment, putting some sort of protection over the crown is a way to just energetically draw the energy down and into the body and protect the energy. Like in Kundalini yoga, they say to always wrap the hair onto the top of the head, sealing in this, you know, big extension of energy that we have growing out of our head, and then to put a hood over it to seal it in, because Kundalini, they're always charging the energy up the Sushumna Nadi, up the central channel. And if you don't have that kind of support to ground it down, especially if you're a very airy person, that's when you hear a lot of those experiences where Kundalini causes, you know, mental health breaks, or, you know, situations to arise that are not necessarily in alignment for what that person was going to the Kundalini yoga class for. So it's all about like receiving the energy in the body and then not losing the energy, charging up the energy from within, but then not letting it distribute everywhere else. Instead, like directing that back in and recycling that energy back into the body temple.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say about that, Holly?
Oh man. I really just feel like everything you were saying was kind of like, it all comes back to aligning like your will with an action, and with like, so basically, like, you know, you were saying that pieces of jewelry and certain things will kind of call to you, and like, you need to wear this today because this is coming in, you need to wear this today and this is coming in. And it's funny that the way that you're describing that is really receptive, and you have, I feel like, a more receptive kind of like energetic makeup in your human design. If you haven't heard of human design, you can just check back to our second episode on human design and go down that rabbit hole. But I have a more emittive kind of energy, and so what I do when I go into my into my room and into my wardrobe, I'm like, what do I want to embody today? Like, what am I feeling? Like, what do I like? What color? Sometimes it's like a color that's really like that I'm really feeling, or, you know, sometimes it's just kind of a vibe, you know, like I'm going like very angelic vibes today or something, you know, just kind of like, who wants to play? Like, who do I want to play with today? And just kind of pick things from there. And, but really, yeah, it's just like about like, I wear a black obsidian ring, and I usually wear that in the autumnal and like winter season. And then in the spring and summer, I wear like a moonstone ring on this same finger. And it just helps me feel more aligned with the season of darkness and the seasons of lightness, at least, you know, in Northern Hemisphere where that correlates. But also, you know, I wear things for protection, like black. I wear the color black for protection. So it's like, you know, as I'm putting on like a black sweater or a black coat with a hood, like I'm imbuing my energy into it of like, I am going into a space where I need protection today. So I'm going to wear this and imbue it with my protection. And there's also, you know, of course, there's crystals in your jewelry that you can wear that kind of hold a certain frequency and help amplify a certain intention. And once you really start to get familiar with those pieces and the pieces that you have and the pieces that you're going to acquire or have acquired, then you can really start to like use those to amplify your intentions even more. So it really is kind of just like a really fun, playful practice, and it's an art form. And it doesn't have to take like an hour either. You know, it's like as a mom of like a toddler, it's really hard to get super intentional with my outfit choices during the day. So sometimes I'm just like, today I'm going to dress for the weather. It's cold and rainy. I'm going to put on some pants, a shirt, and my rain jacket. Here we go. And that's it. But it's still is like, it's still a sacred adornment. It still is like, you know, I'm dressing because I want to go outside, and I want to go outside and be comfortable no matter the weather. And I want to just like go out and be in nature and be comfortable and not get rained on and get sad and cold and sick, you know? So that's one of my intentions too, that I really like for adornment, is like dressing appropriately for the weather.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have to be running around in skimpy little skirts just because, you know, capitalism says like, oh, it's the holidays, you should dress in flimsy outfits, you know, to go to your Christmas dinner and it's snowing outside. Like, why?
Well, and like stiletto heels when there's snow and ice on the ground. It's like, what? Who set that standard? Who did that? I'm wearing my boots. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the idea of just like dressing for your meetings, right? Or like dressing for the exchanges that day. And it's like, if it's just you lounging in your house, if it's just you going on a walk, if it's just you going to nature, even with your family or even with your friends, like, and it's just you wanting to be you and not needing to project or protect anything.
Right.
It's like, yeah, that's beautiful. Then like wear whatever you want. Like most of the time you'll find me in sweatpants that I've been wearing for 3 days. But
with
when I'm
holes
coming,
and paint covered
yeah, exactly. But when I'm going to a meeting, it's like I very much kind of called to like, oh, this is like a divine meeting, and like you dress for your divine appointments. And so this doesn't have to be an all day, every day type of thing. It's like just recognizing when you're feeling encouraged to wear something or dress up in a certain way or put some extra supportive mechanisms on or around your aura. And then notice like who you meet along that path, right? Or like what type of exchanges you have either set up purposefully or that like the universe has set up for you once you're kind of in that space of holding that energetic imprint.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So hopefully, we know with this episode, where our intention is to kind of extend an invitation to our listeners to kind of come play in the realm of sacred self adornment and see what comes up. See if there's any programs that you're ready to let go of. See if there's any exciting and fun things that you're feeling called to wear and to embody and to play around with. And yeah, that's just like our invitation to you, is just come play in this realm. It's really fun and it's really empowering too. And I think that, you know, following our Divine Feminine episode, this is just really a way that we have felt that has helped kind of amplify our divine femininity and help to heal us from these kind of more patriarchal, capitalistic domination culture programming.
Yeah, absolutely. Not putting any more pressure, any more penetration into anyone's field of what they should do, but instead just letting it be like a sacred act of play. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that we are coming to the end of our time here. Eliana, did you have anything else you'd like to add or say before we close?
No, I don't think so. I, of course, pull cards like we do every time. And the ones that came through were the sustainer card, which is like, I feel, it's the creator, sustainer, destroyer archetypes, the kind of trinity, the three of the world. And the sustainer, I feel like, just wants us to know that, like, this is a way to help sustain yourself and your energy in a world that can be constantly trying to take and strip you from being in your power. And if you want to hold the ability to, like, keep the hearth of the home lit and energized for all, like, start with yourself, start with your body, and start kind of lighting the fire within you so that you can be an amplification for all of those around you.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, all of our listeners, for joining us today in our conversation about sacred self-adornment. We so appreciate you listening to us, and we'd love to know what you think of our podcast. So send us a DM, follow us, comment. You can follow us on Instagram. I'm at the Peace Switch, and Eliana is Wellness Weaver. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time here on We Heal.